Guys, Gunner just came up with this really awesome, fast, alternate picking, kind of like a power metal style riff. I want to let you hear it, but after that, you and I, we're going to learn this together. Gunner, that was awesome. Thank you. Alright guys, now we're going to dig into this riff. We're going to learn it together, you and I, and we're just going to have an awesome time like we always do. Two quick things for my Patreon supporters. You guys have the backing tracks, both the full mix and of course the one with just the bass and drums, and you have the tabs to this. And real quick, I'll just state that this is 185 BPM. That's the goal BPM. We'll talk about that more. On that note, no pun intended. Actually, the pun's always intended. Hang around also till the end of the video. After the lesson, we're going to have our normal guitar chat. All right, a couple of tips before we get into learning this actual riff, which is going to be awesome because it's power metal, and power metal is awesome. First, look at my gain. Look where my gain is on my amplifier here, okay? It's pretty low. It's not cranked up there. By the way, this is the EVH 5153 50 watt EL34 head, and I've got the matching 212 cabinet. I am playing through the red channel, so that's the super high gain channel. So whatever type of amp you have, let what I'm about to say be relevant to that amp. The gain doesn't necessarily have to be super high. I mean, this is a little bit lower than what I'd normally play with. I normally play between like 6 and 7 when I'm recording with an amp, regardless of the volume. Of course, the volume is super low on this amp right now. But the point is, the gain is actually a little lower than where I usually have it. The reason I'm doing that is just to present to you the clarity that you'll hear, okay? Versus if I had the gain cranked all the way up, you wouldn't hear as much clarity because things are going to be covered up by too much gain, too much distortion. And this is important for fast alternate picking because things can get really muddy really fast when you're picking fast. And you want those notes to be articulated. You want to hear what's going on. So I recommend whatever amp you're using or amp sim, just bump the gain back a little bit. The next tip, and then we'll get right into the lesson here. So I want to share quickly the way I hold my pick. Now, if you've already seen how I hold my pick, feel free to skip ahead. I'll put a little timestamp down there. Just skip to that part of the video, and that's where the lesson starts. But if you're not familiar with how I hold my pick, well, this is it. Now, real quick, notice I said how I hold my pick. I did not say how you should hold your pick. That's because we're all a little different, and what works for someone may not work for you, okay? Or it may be just a little different. My hope is that in sharing this with you that it will work for you. You'll be like, oh, okay, yeah, that works. I get it now. Or maybe it doesn't, but you just have to make some small shifts, some small adjustments, and then you find the sweet spot for you. So anyway, I've got my two fingers there, and then my thumb on the other side of the pick. The big thing, though, for me anyway, is that my middle finger there is a little bent, okay? It's just a little crooked right there like that. If I'm playing downstrokes, it's kind of like straight, but when I'm alternate picking, it's bent a little bit, going back and forth. And the reason why is because when I'm alternate picking, my hand and my pick kind of naturally gravitate in the angle towards the bridge. Not in an extreme way, but as I'm picking, that pick just kind of subtly goes in that direction, whereas when I'm playing downstrokes, down picking, it's going kind of in the opposite direction. Now, I'm not really sure why that is. This is something I didn't really think about until someone asked me, or several of you asked me, Jason, how do you hold your pick when you're playing downstrokes and alternate picking and all that? So I really had to sit down and think about it and like, okay, well, this is it. This is just something that kind of just naturally happened as I played guitar over the years. But I do have a complete video on that. If you hadn't seen that yet, I'll put it up here on how I hold my pick for downstrokes and alternate picking. So feel free to check that out if you want, or you can watch it after this video. There are two parts to this power metal style riff here. So part one is going to be based around the E power chord. Everything's just centered around that one little section there. Part two will be based around the D power chord. We'll go through those separately. Now, the goal BPM, your tempo, is 185, which really is not that fast in the grand scheme of things because of the style that we're playing here. It's actually harder to alternate pick these rhythms slow. It's very difficult to do that. But at the same time, I'm not really trying to get you to play at an ultra fast, like speed metal speed, if that makes sense. I really don't care how fast you play it. I want you to play it at a BPM that's comfortable for you starting out. And if you gradually want to increase that, I'd recommend like plugging into your studio and using a click track or using a drum machine. Of course, if you're a Patreon supporter, you have the backing tracks for this riff as well as the tabs. All right, so the E power chord. Now, we're on the A and the D string, okay, frets 7 and 9. And what we're doing here is basically we're playing the power chord, then we're immediately going into that alternate picking, that fast alternate picking of just that one note. Okay, you play the power chord, but then alternate pick the single note there, which that's the 7th fret of the A string. Okay, so we'll go through this part first. This is the first part of the riff. To simplify this, all I'm doing is as soon as I play the power chord, I go right into alternate picking that single note 4 times. That's it. So it's like the power chord, 4 times fast single note, okay? We repeat that, and then we follow that up just by letting the power chord ring out, but we're playing it a little bit differently. We're adding that 10th fret in there instead of the 9th fret, so that just gives it kind of a really wicked sound. Now, some of you will want to use your 3rd finger instead, your ring finger there instead, and play it like this. That makes more sense. I go back and forth between the two, and to be honest, guys, I don't even think about it, so I don't mean to confuse anyone. You see me using my pinky and basically sliding the pinky up. It probably makes more sense to use your ring finger and then just, come down on that 10th fret with the pinky. So again, that's one of those little nuances about my playing, and again, we're all different as guitarists, right? I've been playing since 1989. Sometimes you pick up habits that just don't go away. They may be good or bad habits, but it all goes back to what works for you. You have to know that, be confident in that, and move forward accordingly. So that's the first part there. Pretty simple if you think about it. So power chord 4 times on the single note, right? The alternate picking, repeat. Then we let that really cool sounding power chord ring out a little bit. Next, we go into this really cool riff, and we're almost wrapping up the riff based on the E power chord. We go into this really cool riff on the D string though. So check this out, I'll play the full thing. All right, so I'm gonna call out these notes one by one. We are on the D string again, okay? So we're playing 10, 7, 9, and then we're doing a hammer-on pull-off from 7, 9, 7, then pulling off to the open string there. So I'm just going to play this without the alternate picking. Now that pull-off doesn't quite sound like it fits, but 2 things to that. First, we're going quickly right back into the fast stuff again. So it's just kind of like a little simple, easy transition piece. It's kind of easy to play once you get it down. The second part to that is if there's something else you'd rather do, by all means do that. That's why I put these lessons out here, not necessarily for you to learn what I'm sharing with you note for note. I mean, of course, learn that the first time around, but then branch out, start adding your flavor to it. So let's go through that one more time, and I'm going to alternate pick it this time, okay? The reason that open note kind of fits, I mean, it's in key with what we're doing. It's in the E minor progression there, but we're going right back into something else fast. Okay, all right, let's move on to part 2. We're doing the same thing with the D power chord, playing the power chord, then quickly going into that alternate picking of the single note 4 times, and then repeating that. Then we go to the cool sounding D, okay? So we're on frets 5 and 7, A and D strings here, and once again. So we're going from 5-7, the power chord, the D power chord, to 5-4. So again, you've got to switch those fingers around. You know, I'm using my my first finger and my pinky finger, but then I'm switching to using my middle finger. Just watch the transition. My middle finger for that 5th fret A string, and first finger for the 4th fret D string. Okay, again, gives us a sound. Okay, so one more time on that. Now, of course, once we do that, you make that change, it's like, okay, that's a cool change. Now you got to go right back into the fast alternate picking with this little riff here. Now, this riff is very similar to what we did earlier. Okay, instead, it's just in a different spot here. And we're even pulling off on that open string just like we did with the E, with the riff based on the E power chord. So I'm just going to play the notes real quick. Let's call them out first, okay? So we are on, again, this is all on the D string. We're on the 7th fret, then we go to 4, then we go to 5, then we do our hammer-on pull-off from 4, 5, 4, open, okay? That's it. So let's play them just without the alternate picking, okay? You hear that open note. Sounds a little bit better when you're playing it slow. Sounds a little bit better than what we played with the E power chord. And remember, guys, anything you want to change, please change it. Please add to it, take away from it. You know, make it your own. I strongly encourage you to do that. Now, let's go through the entire riff together here, okay? I'm going to start out by playing it a little bit slower, and then I'll kind of pick it up to normal speed. Make sure you hang around till after this part, though. I've got some cool stuff that I want to chat with you about. I always like to call this our guitar chat that we have at the end of my lesson videos here. It is time for our guitar chat, guys, and I love this time with you guys because I feel like we're all just sitting in my studio here, all together, just hanging out, talking about one of the things that we love the most, and that's guitar. Now, of course, you guys all couldn't fit in here because this is a tiny little 10 by 11 room, but hey, you get what I'm saying. I want to talk to you briefly about speed. And the one thing I'll say about speed is I really don't think it's that important. I mean, I don't want to discourage you from playing faster, that's not what I'm saying, but I feel like a lot of guitar players, and myself included, I used to be like this, focus so much on trying to play fast that we can easily just miss everything else that makes music awesome and makes it beautiful. Look, sometimes the song calls for a fast riff. This riff was, you know, it was pretty fast. It wasn't slow by any means, but I know some people out there would hear this and like, well, I'm gonna play it faster. I'm gonna play it at, you know, 201 BPM or 2 whatever, you know. And okay, that's fine and dandy, but that doesn't make it a better song, okay? Fast playing does not necessarily make it better. And you have to ask yourself, are you writing music or playing music to just impress other guitar players? Or are you playing the music or writing the music because it just sounds cool and that's what's coming out of your heart? Now, I am not saying you should not play fast. I don't want you to take this to that extreme either. I'm not saying, well, just chug slow notes all the time, because that just gets dull and boring after about 10 seconds. But so does super fast stuff. What I'm saying is, don't focus on either one of those. Focus on the song itself. Focus on, what you're writing. And I'm talking more about songwriting and riff writing here, because this is what I encourage you guys to do. I know there are other riffs out there that you want to learn, and that's fine. Learn other riffs. And if they're playing it fast, okay, well, play it fast. If they're not playing it fast, then don't. Learn those other riffs from the other bands that you like. I don't want to discourage that, but when it comes down to writing your own music, which again, guys, I encourage you to do this. This bridges the gap between just being a guitar player to really being a musician and really putting your heart and soul into what you're doing. I'm not saying you can't do that playing other people's music, but look, it's other people's stuff at the end of the day. Even with this riff here that you just learned today, I want you to make it your own. Add more notes to it. Play it in a different place. Maybe take away some notes. Sometimes I might put a lesson out there and you're like, okay, well, there's a lot going on there. What if I take this away and take that away and kind of simplify it? Nothing wrong with that. You just made it your own, and you've added to your skill set that you're creating, that you're building, or maybe you're just starting to build this particular skill set that's beyond just being a guitar player, okay? You're not just playing other people's stuff. You're starting to create. And that's the beauty of guitar playing. Now, of course, this is just all my opinion, but I do want the best for you guys, and that's why I put this stuff out there. So yeah, take my lessons and break them down and add, take away. Do that with other people's riffs that you're learning as well. Maybe you slow this one down, maybe you speed that one up, but allow yourself to become more a part of what you're doing on guitar, and that's gonna be writing your own riffs, playing your own stuff. So I just wanted to throw that out there, and I hope that helps you guys. Before we end, guys, don't forget to check the description of this video. I've got a lot of stuff down there. If you don't have my free practice guide, Metal Riffs and Licks, that's down there. Definitely grab that. That has helped thousands of guitar players. It's a video that I'll give you along with tabs to download for that. And if you already have my free practice guide, I've got links to my online guitar courses in the description of this video as well. I've got the Metal Guitar Apprentice. That's if you're just starting to play metal, or if you need to revisit the fundamentals. I've also got my flagship course, Metal Riff Master. I know a lot of you are in my courses, and I appreciate your support. Thank you so much. But yeah, do check those out. All the links to that are in the description of this video here. And guys, again, I hope this lesson helps you. Of course, leave me any comments or questions that you have. And until the next video, you guys know what to do. Keep it metal.